Welcome to Harness Up with Haste Draft Horses and Mules, where we talk all things related to these magnificent animals. From their history and uses to training and care, we cover it all. Join us as we chat with experts and enthusiasts in the field, share stories and tips, and explore the world of draft horses and mules. Whether you're a seasoned owner or just curious about these gentle giants, this podcast is for you. So harness up and join Haste Draft Horses and Mules for some lively discussions about these God-given creatures.
All right, guys, and welcome to Haste Draft Horses and Mules Harness Up podcast. And guys, I'm glad to have Mr. Paul Ladd Jr. here with me from Pinkston Turf Goods right here in Lexington, Kentucky. Paul, how are you?
Very fine.
Yes.
Glad to be here with you.
I'm glad to have you here. I've wanted you on the podcast a long time. Okay. Used to come in your store a lot. As a matter of fact, I bought a Twitch there about 5 years ago. Big, long hickory Twitch.
Yep.
We still use that today.
That is absolutely wonderful.
So
glad to hear that.
That's good. But tell us a little bit about your company and what you do.
Our company was started by my grandfather, Mr. Halter Pinkston Sr. He purchased the property or the business in 1923. He actually was four businesses. There was a locksmith, harness shop, a hardware, and a gunsmith. And all those businesses were kind of clumped together. He started separating the businesses, I guess about that same time, shortly after he bought it. And the businesses broke up, and he put his brother in charge of the harness shop at that time, which at that time we mostly did just harness work. It was 1922. There wasn't a whole lot of thoroughbred racing going on. So
yeah.
You did shoes, you did, plow horses and things like that, which is, kind of all related, but it was all part of business. The rest of the business, he kind of took over and ran it himself. But my Uncle Ralph, which was what we always knew him as, was the first proprietor at the harness shop. He lasted there for about 20 years and had to pass away early in life. And at that time, my grandfather didn't know what he was going to do. He didn't have anybody to run the business. So he came to his son-in-law, which was Paul Ladd Sr., my father, and asked him if he'd like to have a job. And luckily, my father said yes. He took it over at that point in time, and he built the business. And we've been going since then. He actually, I think, finally put down the last purchase from my grandfather in 1969, I believe it was. And he's owned it since then until he passed away 7 years ago now. And at that point in time, he passed it on to me, and I've been running it. So I've been in the business now for 40 years. So
now, has it always been right there where it is now?
It is not. It was actually located down on Broadway at, see if I can remember the number. It's 258 North Broadway.
Okay.
I have to remember those numbers now.
So that's where it started.
That's where it started, yes.
Could you imagine back then having a harness shop downtown Lexington? All the people coming in buying harness for their doctors' buggies and horses?
That's the way it used to be. We've got some old pictures in the store where the streets were still brick streets downtown in Lexington. And for the longest time, I remember people coming to the store and, there wasn't any parking down there. So they just pull right up on the sidewalk, stop on the sidewalk. And it worked for a long time that way until the city of Lexington decided they wanted to hand out parking tickets. And of course, they still kept parking there, and they kept handing out tickets. And my father would just pay people's tickets for them.
Well, we're talking about downtown Lexington on Broadway where it started. And now it's over by the Red Mile Racetrack. Pretty
close to Red Mile. Yeah, we're right around the corner. We're on, most people think of it as Versailles Road there, but it's actually West High Street, right on the corner of Anglian Avenue.
Now, the main people you're selling to at your company, you're taking care of horse race people a lot. Yeah. Do you do any with the harness racing?
We do harness racing. We have a lot of standardbred farms that we deal with. We make sale halters for them. They buy supplies. Horse is a horse when it comes down to their needs a lot of times.
Oh,
but, the equipment is a little bit different when you get into it. So
speaking of halters, one of the main things that y'all do is y'all make the halters for the Derby.
We do. We make those halters. I'm going to let my son-in-law talk about a little bit about that because he handles that now on.
That's great.
He's our fourth generation working into the business, and
we'll bring him in here.
Yes, we've been doing it for several years now, and quite happy with doing it.
That's good. When did you get started at the shop? What time?
There in '84, I came to work there for my father, and I was fresh out of high school. Well, I wasn't fresh out of high school. I went to the college for a couple of years and decided that really wasn't for me, and decided to come on to work for my father. I'm going to end up there anyway, and I liked it, so might as well get my feet wet.
Carry on the tradition.
Exactly.
I know you probably got a lot of memories stand out in your head about working in the business so long, but what's your favorite memory of your work, what you do? You got a good favorite?
I would have to say being around my father. I was blessed with that. And, not many people can say that they were able to work with their father, and some people maybe can't work with their father. I don't know.
True.
But I take it as a blessing, and I look back on it every day, and I thank God for that. So.
One thing I noticed when I walk in that store, it just feels like you're in somewhere. Like it's historic, like it's got a part in the horse race industry.
It's been around a long time. I mean, one of the stories I can tell you is that nobody really ever called on the racetrack as far as the racetrackers go at Keeneland until my father started doing that. And he was one of the first ones that ever started going out there and running deliveries to the racetrack.
Really?
And he started that, I guess, probably shortly after he came to work there, probably in about 1925, 28, so in that time period. Shortly after Keeneland, started up, they're actually celebrating, I think is it their 100th birthday? I think it's their 100th birthday this year or whatever. So, it's kind of neat to be able to say that he was there kind of from the beginning, and he started working on it. So he has a little bit, he prided himself at one point in time. He told me that he was calling on his 100th race meet, and that's pretty impressive.
That is. Are you still delivering to the track today?
We still do that today. Yes. We have a guy that goes out to the racetrack every morning. He goes out there, takes orders, comes back, fills the orders, and delivers back. So
that's great.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I didn't know you done that.
Yeah.
So I learned something new tonight already.
Yeah.
That's good, man. That is good.
Yeah, it's quite an honor to be able to be in this industry, and I've been blessed to be able to do it for 40 years. So, and I'm glad to be able to turn it over to somebody else. My father did it to me, and my grandfather did before that. That's so
good. One thing I noticed too in your store, all the old men down home, they wear those belts with their name.
Yeah.
I remember that from a little child, and when I was little, I wanted me a belt with my name on it.
Oh, I know.
And when I went in there, I seen you make those. I knew that.
It's we've made a lot of them over the years. I think that one of the first times we ever did it, I wasn't around. I got a gentleman that used to work for my father, Harry Ensko, which actually ended up opening a business for himself shortly. At one point in time, he left us, went on his own. But one of our customers had come in and had an old neck strap. We make neck straps for identification on the horses.
Oh, yeah.
And had an old neck strap, and he said, can you just put my nameplate on there? I'm going to put it on as a belt. I needed a belt for today. He wore it as a belt, and I think that's kind of how it started up. But, yeah, we've made a whole lot of them over the years. I can't even tell you how many. And I'll say kings and queens. I don't know if we go quite that high, but pretty close. So we've made it for some pretty prominent people, and we've made it for just about anybody. So
that's awesome. That is, I stood out in my mind. And also the first time we come in, my wife, she come running to me across the store. I was over in the corner looking at just odds and ends. She came running and said, they got an American Pharaoh's halter on the wall in the glass case. And I'm like, well, I need to go see this. Sure enough, I walked up and there it was. So
yeah, we do business, just to mention the Ashford Stud, which is where Pharaoh and Justify stand, and several other nice prominent stallions. And they're Triple Crown winners. They've had they make a lot of halters for those horses, and they give them away to charities, and they'll auction them off. And I think even at some point in time, we've heard some of the halters have gone for upper close to $8,000. Not because they're our halters necessarily, not going to say, but because they have that name on there, and supposedly the horses worn them. Pretty neat. So,
well, used to, we'd go to the track when I was a lot younger than I am now, and we'd go try to buy race halters. We loved doing it, and they would sell them $2-3 a piece, and you could buy buckets of them. And we loved going home and cleaning them up and just looking at the different names we'd find. And still to this day, we got a lot of those halters at home. And the other day, I was walking through the yard and found a halter with a name on it.
Oh, did you?
Still. Yeah, we still got a bunch of them.
No,
I guess there's people still going around buying them and trying to resell them.
probably so. I mean, you have to have authenticity. Most of the halters that they do out there with those horses, they'll mark them with a certain lettering.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll number them, and then there comes with a letter of authenticity to it. So it's kind of like buying this, you might say a signature, memorabilia, I guess is what they call it. So it brings up pretty kind of a funny story. As I was a kid, I remember going to Florida with my parents, and you'd go in some of these souvenir shops or whatever. And I remember seeing in this one shop, they had like 4 or 5 baskets lined up, and they were filled with horseshoes in these baskets. And there might have been 30, 40 horseshoes in each basket. Well, on the front of them, it said like Secretariat and Man of War. And I was like, I asked Dad, he goes, those things didn't come from those horses. He said they just filled those baskets up with those things. No way they got that many shoes off those horses.
A lot of my viewers that's going to watch the podcast, they probably don't know how much these horses in Kentucky kind of mean to us.
They're a lot.
But when you hear Man of War, Secretariat, you hear all these horses. I mean, people around here, they know like a book, who won, who's racing here, who's racing where. But y'all may not know this about me, but I'm a huge racehorse fan.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I got every channel on my TV at home on race TV. I sit at home at night and watch horses, and I love it. I got in a pretty bad habit of betting on that.
Well, it can become a problem sometimes. But
on that app up at Churchill Downs, they got that Twin Spires app. And it's so easy to sit there at home and have a blast.
Oh, I can imagine.
I love it.
Yeah, it is. It's a religion. Some people here in Kentucky. I mean, even outside of that, there's people. We've got people that we send stuff to, and I think there's one gentleman down in Georgia. He got nameplates, kind of like the setup here with bourbon, but he's got a room dedicated to horses, and I mean, he's got nameplates on everything, just all around his, I guess, what you'd call a man cave or something. But pretty neat. So it transpires all the way throughout the country, I think.
Well, you go over to off-track betting at the Red Mile. You go anytime, a day. There's people in there packed betting on horse racing all across the country, and some of those guys up there make a living doing that. That's their life.
They some of them do well at it. I wonder how. I think eventually the house ends up winning, I think is what I've heard, but I'm sure that some of them do pretty well at times.
I got myself cut down now to 10-cent bets.
There you go.
It's a whole lot cheaper, and you have the same amount of fun because I always lose anyway.
It's all about enjoying it. That's the main thing.
A lot of people don't understand. I went to Road to the Horse competition up here at the horse park a month ago, and I was talking to a guy there from Texas, and we was talking horse racing. He said, we don't know much about it. We don't have a lot of horse racing. I said, well, you can go to every gas station in Fayette County, and every morning they get the daily book of every race in America. Yeah, racing for them every morning.
The Bible there.
He said, get me one of them. So I went back to the hotel, and the next morning I stopped at the Shell down there by the horse park and got him one, took it back. He said, that is awesome. It's just, horse racing here in Lexington is a lot. It means a lot.
It does.
Of course, we got Keeneland right here, and they got Turfway up in Florence. And
that's right.
They're opening new harness tracks like crazy.
They are. And we actually had some quarter racing here this summer and have in the past couple of years. And I think they're trying to get a standing track open for quarter horse racing down in Eastern Kentucky. I'm hoping that'll come through because
that would be good.
I tell you what, it's an exciting sport as well.
It is.
They go quick. It's over, and it's kind of neat.
You've been to the Derby, surely.
I have. I've been to the Derby. I don't say I'm a regular there because I'll tell you what, everybody needs to go one time, but one time might be enough because you can get overwhelmed by it. It is a huge, big event.
I interviewed one of the policemen from Louisville here a month ago or so.
Mm-hmm.
He rides mounted patrol. Super nice guy. Shout out to you, Justin. Hope you're watching. But he told me, he said, save your money and watch it at home because, he said the infield, those tickets, whew, he said you're going to be on your feet all day.
right.
running around with 50,000 people and you can't even see.
So, like I said, everybody should experience it at least once, but maybe once is enough.
What was your fondest memory when you went to the Derby your first time or something?
I don't know what the fun is, but it's the overwhelming feeling of how big it is. We go to Keeneland here at Lexington, and it's good size stand and things, but Churchill is massive, and it really is just we put all those people in there and the excitement and everything. It's just really, it's electric inside there, and it is for the whole day.
I bet.
And it's pretty neat place to go. Like I say, if I could get somebody to fly me in there every time, I might go every time. But flying it out is probably not in my budget. So,
yeah, it's pretty expensive.
Yes,
that's good though. I'm going to go sometime.
Oh, yeah,
I'm going to make the trip and go for sure. But I love it. It's horse racing's a whole lot to me, and I enjoy every minute of it. So,
yeah, it's a good time.
What about Faze and Tipton? Are you making the halters for the sale ring there and everything?
We do make halters for the yearling sales as well as breeding stock sales, also some for the 2-year-old sales. So it's a constant, halters are a constant thing for us. We have 3 or 4 people that work on halters year round. That's all they do. They don't take breaks. They don't wait on customers or anything like that. That's just what their job is. They do it because we have a separate shop set up outside of our showroom area, mainly just because you get interrupted and too many times you got people coming in on repair work or something out front, or our showroom and things. So try to keep that separated to where things run a little bit smoother with that.
I just wonder, horse racing's huge all over the world. Are you shipping a lot of stuff across seas to other people, or?
We do. We've always shipped a lot. We get a lot of foreign customers in for the sales.
Yeah.
So they come in a lot. We get to meet them there, introduce ourselves, and they get familiar with us, and they order quite often sometimes. So it's neat to be able to send some stuff over. Shipping is getting quite expensive these days, as everybody else knows. So
yeah, it is.
A lot of times we'll even, box it up and put it on horse planes going back where they've got the horses flying back over there and try to hitch a ride on that. It's a little bit cheaper that way.
How many employees are you running over there right now?
Right now we have 5 employees in our main business where we do our retailing at, and we have somewhere between 3 and 4, depending on time of the year, in our manufacturing business.
So they're working pretty hard just for that many.
They are. It is a full time. The way we base, I'll let my son-in-law kind of get into the halter part of it, but give you an idea. We base pretty much our pricing, and the way we've always done it is that it almost takes one man hour to make a halter, is what it does from start to finish, and that's kind of a base the way we always planned how we could work our pricing. So,
one thing I want to know, where does the name come from, Pinkston's?
That's my grandfather.
Okay.
Halton Pinkston.
That's where it comes from.
He was born in Harrisburg, Kentucky. Came over here, I think with his family, he was about 8 years old when he moved over to Lexington. Somewhere in that area, 8 to 10. I don't have those figured. I've been told a lot of this stuff too. So I do know that he completed the 4th grade. That was as far as his education went. He was told at that time he had a large family. He had 10 or 11 siblings. He said that he was told that after 4th grade that he needed to go to work so he could help support the family at that time. And he went to work. He was born in 1894, I believe. Wow. Took on the responsibility along with some of his brothers, going to work and trying to support the family. And I guess he probably saved up enough money by the time he was in his early 20s that he was able to go to. Believe it or not, our business was owned by, at that time, Mr. Pinkerton.
Okay.
Was the name of the business, and he owned the business. And my grandfather purchased that business from Mr. Pinkerton, which was originally located on Main Street in Kentucky and had since been moved to Short Street. At the time my grandfather purchased it, and when he purchased it, he moved it there to Broadway. And that's how it ended up there.
Do you know what year?
Changed the name, of course, to Pinkston's.
Do you know what year they started doing the Derby's halters?
The Derby halters, I want to say we started doing them. We've been doing them probably now for about 4 or 5 years of the Derby halter. That's actual for horses in the Derby.
Okay.
Before then, I don't know if they were even doing the halters for the Derby. These are just gifts that they give each horse that enters the race. And this was something that came up with Churchill Downs approached us on this. We were honored to be able to
That's awesome.
do that.
That is awesome. Well, Paul, I appreciate you coming on. We're going to bring on the 4th generation.
I appreciate it
The
too.
new one coming in. Show the new face.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, now we got the new man in charge here with us. 4th generation, going to be taking over, Mr. Joe Nalia.
Pleasure.
Joe,
Thank you.
good to meet you. Good to have you. I met you before, but good to have you here with us, buddy.
Appreciate it.
Tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, and all that stuff.
Well, I was born and raised on Walnut Hall Farm.
Okay.
Newtown Road. That's a standardbred farm. And at the time, I believe my father told me at one time it was the largest land grant east of the Mississippi. Sure, we in fact checked on that, but it's somewhere around like that. Spent my childhood. I'm sorry. Let me go back. He was the farm manager.
Okay.
So I spent my childhood kind of riding my bike up and down the roads and getting in trouble and then seeing what was done on a daily basis. When I was old enough, I'd say early teens, I started, working there. Wasn't paid, but after a time they finally started. But so had my fair share of night watching and 5:30 in the morning wake ups to go feed and stuff like that. So coming into Pinkston's, I kind of had an idea of kind of the process in which the products we were selling that are going to.
Speaking of coming into Pinkston's, you kind of married into, didn't you?
Yeah. Upon my marriage, I didn't realize I'd be working at Pinkston's. It was a few years before.
Really?
Yeah. So
what did you do before this?
did a bout of college and went off to the Marines. Got stationed out in California. Did some stuff out there. Finished up school. Came back and worked. There's another family business on my side. Did some of that, and one day Paul reached out to me about 5 years ago, and he asked if I want to come on board. I didn't know what to think of it, and after we had sat down and talked for a little bit about it, decided to give it a shot. Here we are.
That's awesome. That's good.
Yeah.
That is great. Well, tell us, you're making the halters for the Derby this year.
Mm-hmm.
Paul was telling us it's kind of like a new thing they started to give to each person. How's that going? Got them done?
Got them done. I'm really glad when Kelly Danner, she's a part of the racing operations up there at Churchill. Shout out to you. Thank you. Reaches out with plenty of time in advance to let us know. And, it's just a byproduct of who works for us as well. Paul mentioned earlier the people that we have go out to the track, like Nancy Glover. It's all kind of a big niche family. Mm-hmm. And they grew up with Kelly. And that helped us, talk with him. Not only, we're going to talk about the qualities there.
Yeah.
Make the one of, if not the best halters for that situation.
Well, I've seen them. They're nice.
Yes.
Where are you getting your leather from?
Well, we get it from a tannery up in, it's the thoroughbred leather. Yeah.
And then you use brass hardware. I'm sorry.
Brass hardware. So I just now started to do this. Well, actually, about a year ago. We have huge spreadsheets of what how many sides of leather and how much hardware go into a halter. So we kind of forecast what we're going to need for a given season.
Okay.
And from there, I order all of the given hardware and the stuff just to make sure that whenever we make these halters that we have enough, don't have too much left over, because we don't want to make too many halters to where we don't think we'll sell them. Mm-hmm. We always end up needing a little more, but we can make some more at the drop of a hat. So it's not a big deal.
Yeah. When they're making these derby halters, are you over top of them like every little piece has got to be perfect?
No, they're over top of me basically. So I'm the one that gets to appreciate the craftsmanship. I'm not quite there yet, I guess you could say, in regards to, getting on the machine or anything like that. But we're very fortunate to have what we have.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm sure some of the workers have been there a long time, though.
Yeah.
What's the longest employee right now?
Paul.
Yeah, well, yeah. Besides Mr. Paul.
They going on around 15 years.
Good. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
You coming from the standardbred farm.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a lot of memories of standardbred racing? Did you go to a lot of racetracks? Or
I went to the Red Mile.
Yeah.
And, my father, this is towards the end of, when I was a little bit older, they built a training track at Walnut Hall, and my father would jog these standardbreds in the morning, and I would come up there. When I first saw him doing that, and I'd see, there'd be a sash line,
Yeah.
and there'd be a pair of pantyhose on there. What is going on? So, standardbred, we got to improvise.
Exactly.
So all he was doing was tying a tongue with pantyhose. Yeah, exactly. So I would have to bundle up. I probably had 6 layers of clothing on, and he let me get on the cart.
Yeah.
And I'd go around the track.
Jog them.
Yeah, jog, basically.
Well, where we're from, there's a lot of Amish in Casey County, and there's standardbreds on every corner.
Exactly.
That's most of the retired life for standardbreds.
I've had my share of Delaware, and Ohio, and
Cool.
Been up there, and they are an integral part of that way of life. Yeah.
Besides the halters and stuff like that, what other things are you all selling? Like, what's your big sellers that you do a lot?
You saw on the side of leather goods?
Well, no, like anything. Are you making racing tack? Are you selling anything like that?
Yeah, well, yes, we do make the tack. More of like on the exercise and training part
Okay.
of it. I've found, now granted, I've only been there for 5 years, so I don't know
Yeah.
where I should be to really have a good conversation on this, but mainly stuff that you're going to have day in, day out while you're at the track training.
Do you sell a lot of that stuff too?
No, we used to, but it just got to the point where with regulations and the safety of the horse and everything like that, it's kind of morphed into its own little arena that we'll let other people deal with that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're taking it over, keeping it in the family. It's going to be good. You told me while we was talking outside, though, you'd maybe have some mule stories.
Have some mule stories.
I got a lot of mule people, so let's talk about mules.
Yeah, that's okay. So when I was out in California, I was in the Marine Corps, and we went to mountain warfare school. I was in the infantry, and it was in Bridgeport, California. And it was July, and it was snowing. So needless to say, there was plenty of mountains and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And they had this sub-course where they used mules to transport all the heavy machine guns and other logistical supplies throughout the base there. And, we had probably about 8 or 9 mules, and we would go on patrol with them. We'd load them up with those heavy machine guns, and we'd go on 8 and 9 day ops with them.
Pack mules. So we've sold the U.S. Army pack mules before.
Well, I might have gotten kicked by one of your mules.
We have. You see, mules are huge in the U.S. Army. You see the brand right on them, U.S., right on the back hip. And, an old story about that, back in the old days, they used to take mules, and they would tell by their tail. They would cut bales out of their tail, like slits around.
Mm-hmm.
And if a mule just rode, she'd have 1 bale. If she rode and packed, she'd have 2. And if she rode and packed and drove, she'd have 3.
Interesting.
And that's how they told.
That's neat.
So, thank you for your service, by the way.
I appreciate it.
We love our veterans here, and we support them. And without y'all, we couldn't even be sitting here doing this.
I appreciate that.
We appreciate your service. We sure do. I mentioned vet supplies a while ago. I know you don't sell like prescription vet stuff, but like equine supplies, take like to treatment animals, you sell that kind of stuff?
No, definitely. Liniments, some feed supplements, things of that nature. Yes, we most certainly do. And that is a big part of our business.
Also, I noticed you're making the jockey silks.
We do that, yes.
You just help design them too?
Well, with a little help from our seamstress now. So she's very good at what she does. She knows if we need to abide by rules and regulations, if they, for instance, want to race in New York, they have to abide by certain, patterns and things of that nature.
A lot of people don't understand that. Like in the horse race industry, there's a commission in every state, and it's different rules. If you're racing in Kentucky, it may not be the same as when you go to New York, Ohio, or anywhere across the country.
Correct.
So it's kind of a lot to keep up with, I'd say.
It is.
How many halters are y'all making a year across the board?
We've made, since I've been there, on average around 20,000 halters a year.
Somebody's sewing a lot of leather.
That is a lot of leather. That's a lot coming in and a lot going out.
Wait.
When I was first asked to come on board, I had no idea the process and the magnitude of what really has to happen to make that happen. It's taken a while, but I'm not there yet. But every year, it's becoming a little bit more clear on what it's really got to take. So yeah.
Well, I can imagine somebody never done it before or never knew. Coming in new, you got to learn. So.
Oh yeah, and there's no classes for it. You just gotta dive in.
Learn from your father-in-law.
Here you go.
That's right. Can people come to your business and tour it and see it? And...
we have people that just come in.
Awesome.
Yeah, definitely. They feel kind of bad after they hung around for about 5 minutes asking questions, so they do buy something. But anybody and everybody's welcome. We enjoy talking to people, especially the ones who admit, like, hey, I've heard about this place. We're flattered to hear that.
Yeah.
And that they had peace of mind and what have you to actually come in. And we're more than happy to talk about anything.
So, guys, if you're ever in Lexington or want to go to Lexington, stop by Pinkston's Turf Goods. Check it out. I'm sure he says they'll be glad to have everybody. So
everybody.
That's good.
Not a problem.
And check out that American Pharaoh's halter on the wall, because that's one of my favorite racehorses. So
yeah, he does draw a lot of attention.
Triple Crown. There wasn't very many. So that's a good thing. What's your all's website?
It's www.pinkstons.com.
Pinkston.
Simple enough. Yeah.
Simple, easy.
But if you have any questions in regards to what you're getting into or something you need to accomplish, we're more than happy to, talk over the phone or, any means necessary to, So there's nothing too big and there's nothing too small. I think that's the most important part.
Good deal. So you can get on the website, get their number, their contact, call them, email them, however you want to contact them. So, guys, I sure appreciate y'all coming in.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Paul, thank you. And if we can ever do anything with you all let us know. And we'll try to send some customers your way too. So, guys, thank you for listening. We sure appreciate you. As always, check us out on the World Wide Web at www.drafthorsesanmules4sale.com. So stay tuned, and we'll see y'all soon. Happy trails.
As another captivating episode of Harness Up with Haste Draft Horses and Mules draws to a close, we extend our sincere gratitude to our listeners for joining us on this enlightening journey. We hope today's discussions have deepened your appreciation and understanding of these magnificent creatures. Remember, the adventure continues beyond this podcast. Stay connected with us on social media and share your stories. For more information and to explore further, visit drafthorsesanmulesforsale.com. Thank you for being part of our community. Until next time, keep harnessing your curiosity and passion for these God-given creatures. Farewell for now.